the 20th of March, the first day of spring, the day Albert Einstein's theory of relativity was first published, the day Mr. Rogers was born, which is appropriate seeing how it's also International Happiness Day. But it just so happens to be my birthday too. Yeah, we get the joke. Now, every year, on the day of my birth, I try to do a special kind of video relating to something from my childhood, and this year, I've decided to take you back way farther than we've ever gone before, to a time when I wasn't even born yet. And chances are most of you weren't either. But first, I have a question. Does the name Marlo Thomas ring a bell? If not, then all you need to know about her is that she's a Grammy, Golden Globe, and Peabody-winning actress, author, and social activist who was inducted into the Broadcasting and Cable Hall of Fame, and in 2014 received the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Also, her father is Danny Thomas, the founder of the St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. If your mouth hasn't hit the floor by now, you either have a really bad case of lockjaw, or you're dead.
I'm getting better! No, you're not. You'll be stone dead in a moment.
I guess this is the part where I bring up the topic of the video. Marlo released a music album and children's book in 1972 called Free to Be You and Me, which was later made into a TV special that premiered in 1974. The project was primarily made to help kids learn to be comfortable with who they are and understand tolerance, gender neutrality, and the importance of identity and individuality. Everyone is special in their own way, and whether you're a boy or girl or somewhere in between, you can do anything you set your mind to. In other words,
that notion that we should each be free to develop our own talents, whatever they may be, and not be held back by artificial barriers.
Well said clip of Ruth Bader Ginsburg that I didn't even know existed until after I already wrote the script for this video and I'm only putting in now because of how much it relates to everything I just talked about. Well said. My siblings and I used to watch the TV special on DVD a lot when we were younger, and I remember being extremely fascinated by it. It was like Marlo Thomas got together with some of her friends to just have fun and mess around. I don't expect a whole lot of you to be as familiar with this special as I am, so you might be quick to assume that it's just some corny, low-budget product of its time. But this is kind of a big deal for a bunch of different reasons. Not only does it tackle themes and ideas that are still relevant nowadays, if not more so, but Marlowe's circle of friends included legends such as Harry Belafonte and Mel Brooks, along with some younger up-and-coming stars like Michael Jackson. Plus, it won an Emmy. So it must have been pretty good then. Even the album featured the likes of Diana Ross and Carol Channing, a name that's impossible for me to hear now without thinking of whose line is it anyway.
I'm Spartacus!
My point is, just because something looks cheap, that doesn't always mean it isn't good. And trust me, this special is really friggin' good. I might poke fun at it here and there, but for the most part, things are gonna be a little more relaxed than usual today. Above all, the purpose of this video is to bring attention to something that, even in our current social climate, can still bring joy and value to people's lives. If you don't mind a little, 70s cheese. And from the very first second, this special delivers that in troves. It opens with a group of kids riding on a carousel in the middle of what looks like Central Park. Then we're presented with the names of celebrities we can expect to see over the next 43 minutes. But it does that thing a lot of old sitcom intros do, where they'll freeze frame on each of the main characters and then show the name of the actors that play them. So, are we led to believe that Mel Brooks plays a little girl with pigtails? Or that these girls are both played by Harry Belafonte? I can buy that. The whole point of the special is to tell people that they can be anything they want to be. And I suppose the kids decided they want to be cartoons now, as they suddenly turn into animated kids riding animated horses. Then they ride off into the desert, and that's it. Honestly, I have no idea what this opening is supposed to imply. Maybe it's a backdoor pilot for an all-kids version of Rawhide, or a deleted scene from Back to the Future 3. But what I do know is that the studio responsible for the animation is the same one that went on to produce the original Ninja Turtles cartoon. And that crappy Speed Racer show nobody talks about. Not this one, the other one. Wow, not even the internet knows what I'm talking about? Forget it. It's this one, by the way. So after that, the rest of the special follows a format similar to Monty Python's Flying Circus, where all the sketches are pretty much their own thing, but still loosely connected through recurring themes and characters. Here, we have two puppet babies that make our dreams come true, and have their own little skits that pop up throughout the course of the special, with most other segments being tied to them in one way or another. These are relegated more to the first half, however, because by the time we get to the second half, the baby bits don't really relate to anything until the end. And I just realized now that baby bits probably wasn't the best phrase to use, oh dear. Everything in terms of how they're connected gets a lot looser as the show progresses, and that approach could lead to conflicting morals and a lack of cohesion if done poorly, but all the central themes are still retained and expanded upon, and even if a sketch or a song happens that has little to do with the previous one, it doesn't come off as a waste of time and never feels out of place. I really love how this special is structured. It's not a traditional variety program, it's a collection of stories so simple on paper, but told in such a charming and compelling manner that you can see the life bursting from their chests. I'm gonna go a little out of order here to talk about some of the animated segments. The first one is about a girl who sees herself as a tender, sweet young thing.
I am a tender, sweet young thing.
You see? Now, because she's an avid believer of the phrase ladies first,
Ladies first, ladies first, ladies first, ladies first, ladies first.
Okay, we get it. She thinks she should be first in line for everything.
I have got to be careful of my lovely dress. So would somebody please clear the way for me?
Yes, somebody please move the one vine that I can easily walk around out of my way.
Oh, Marlo, I love you. Then she and the other kids get ambushed by a group of tigers dressed like characters from Yellow Submarine for some reason. And before you start asking how they were able to take her out of the net so easily without accidentally letting the other kids go, they just stick her in a pot to be cooked. This girl is so obsessed with being first, no matter what the scenario, that she insists on being eaten by the tigers before anyone else, meaning the other kids probably got eaten too. Yeah, how's that for a dark ending? Moving on to something brighter, this next one's about a boy named Dudley Pippin who gets in trouble at school for spilling paint in class even though it wasn't his fault. He's forced to stay after to clean it up, and on his way out, he runs into the principal. Dudley's so frustrated with what happened that he starts to cry, but the principal tells him it's okay, delivering a line that's both simple and yet so profound at the same time.
A sissy is somebody who doesn't cry, because he's afraid people will call him a sissy if he does cry.
Well, I'm all mixed up.
Of course you are.
Then it's followed up with a song by football star Rosie Greer about how crying can help us feel better.
It's alright to cry. Crying gets the sad out of you. It's alright to cry. It might make you feel better.
I'll talk about the music a little later, but I just want to focus on this for a second. Rosie Greer played for Penn State, the New York Giants, and the Los Angeles Rams. He was on defensive tackle, so he was like a giant bowling ball, knocking other guys down like pins. Maybe I just can't help but smile at big guys getting all soft like this, but seeing someone of his size and stature singing a nice little song about letting your emotions out is heartwarming, even more so considering his work in ministry and community service. And he apparently loves knitting too. That's adorable. I love this guy. I want to hug him. Now, there are two more segments I want to bring up, and they're easily among my favorites. This one is called William's Doll, and it's based on a children's book of the same name, about a boy who wants a baby doll for his birthday. Everyone is confused about this because boys are expected to want things boys normally like. You know, sports stuff and all that. William gets made fun of by giant floating heads while doing the slowest Naruto run I've ever seen.
Hi, how are you?
But he only wants a doll to care for like a child because if he wants to be a good father someday, he might as well get some practice in. Marlo Thomas, going against gender stereotypes and doing it the right way. No, not you. get out of here, nobody likes you. Now here's my absolute favorite, the story of Atalanta, based on the Greek figure. Atalanta wants to go out and see the world, but her father wants her to get married, so he holds a running race to determine which of the men that compete will marry her. Then Atalanta decides to enter the race as well, and if she wins, she'll get to choose for herself.
Each night she would go to the field in secret until she could run the course in just 3 minutes.
As the day of the race grew near, young men began to crowd into the town, except for one. That was young John, who lived in the town. Each morning, before his studies of the stars...
Whoa, who's this guy? We've had 2 other narrators telling the story up to this point, but then this other one shows up right out of nowhere, and he sounds like he's being recorded 20 years after this was made.
Young John would go to the field in secret and practice running. Day after day, he'd race.
Oh, and now it's back to normal again. I wonder why it was just that one line that had to be redone.
The world may never know.
Well, speaking of narrators, that brings me to the best part of the whole segment. It's during the race when Atalanta and this other guy named John are neck and neck. The female narrator takes over the story when Atalanta takes the lead, but then the male narrator comes in when John takes the lead.
Atalanta felt his closeness. She dashed ahead.
But young John didn't give up. On he ran, swift as the wind.
And then, when John and Atalanta catch up with each other, both narrators read at the same time.
Until he ran as her equal, side by side with her, toward the golden ribbon that marked the race's end.
It's such an amazing detail that makes for an exciting way to tell a story, and it fits so perfectly. That's one thing I really love about this special. The respect that Marlowe and her team had for children is on full display. They could have just thrown some mindless cartoons at the screen for kids to eat up with zero regard for their intelligence, but instead, they actually tried to give both children and adults something fun, insightful, and meaningful to digest. They knew that kids deserve better. If only other content creators knew that.
I'm going to jail!
So this special not only features puppets, animation, and sketches, it also has music. Some songs, like the helping sequence, are taken from poems and short stories, others are taken from the original album, and a few others, like the Sun and Moon, are unique to the TV special. The music is absolutely incredible. Every song is written from a child's point of view, and lyrically, they give a sense of innocence while still coming off as genuine and heartfelt. They never feel forced or repetitive, there's a wide variety of subjects presented, the melodies are catchy, they each have their own style and energy, and they're performed flawlessly. There's no hamming it up to keep the kids' attention, and nothing about the cast ever seems fake. Everyone's clearly into it, their interactions feel authentic, and even if they're not all the greatest singers in the world, the effort they put in just makes them more endearing. I wish I could play these songs in full, but if you want a better idea of how great they are, I recommend you go find the soundtrack and listen for yourself. For right now, though, let's just go through some of my favorites, like this one. Here we have Roberta Flack and Michael Jackson playing 2 young kids dressing up and pretending to do grown-up things, wondering how different their lives will be when they reach adulthood, how much will stay the same, and if they'll still be friends. Well, I'm sure we know what happened to Michael, but that's another story.
Well, I don't care if I'm pretty at all, and I don't care if I never get tall. I like what you look like, and you're nice small. We don't have to change at all.
Man, this really takes me back to when I was a kid, dreaming about all the things I could do. On that subject, here's a sweet little song by Marlo Thomas and Harry Belafonte. They sing about boys and girls growing up to be men and women with kids of their own. And as if Marlo wasn't already cute enough on her own, I just can't see her and Harry on screen together without a big dumb grin on my face. These two have great chemistry, and frankly, they're just precious. It's so sweet, it's giving me cavities. Or maybe I've just been drinking too much soda, but who knows. Oh, remember the babies? Well, they get their own song too, and this one's about how great it is to be a baby and what kind of fun things you can do with them. This wasn't on the original album, so it was most likely put in to fill up runtime, but nevertheless, it's an enjoyable number.
Yeah.
Same goes for this one, Circle of Friends with Chris Christopherson. It's just him, Marlowe, and a group of friends gathering around the campfire and singing a campfire song.
Love goes around in a circle. Friendship begun doesn't end.
It's much more laid back and relaxing than everything else we've had up to now, and the song itself is very soothing and pretty. But this last one really kicks things up a notch. The segment starts with Marlowe sitting down with a bunch of kids, asking them questions about their brothers and sisters.
I really liked your brother. I thought he was a nice guy. I didn't. Why? Because he's always you-know-whating.
I think I know what, but I'm getting some pretty mixed signals from the way you're moving your hands. Well, that brings us to what might just be my favorite song in this entire special, Sisters and Brothers, performed by the voices of East Harlem.
Sisters and brothers, brothers and sisters, ain't we everyone? Brothers and sisters, sisters and brothers, every father's daughter, every mother's son.
I love everything about this. The dancing, the tone, the energy, and all that topped off with one of my all-time favorite things in general. I can fawn over a beautiful singing voice, but there's something about the way black people sing in particular that just fills me with this overwhelming sense of euphoria. That's a word I thought I'd never use. People like Chuck Berry, Jennifer Hudson, Anika Noni Rose, Christopher Jackson, voices with such distinctively soulful qualities that I just love. Sorry. You know what? No, I'm not sorry. The opportunity to gush about my favorite African-American singers doesn't come that often in my videos, so I'm gonna savor this moment while I can, goddammit. One last time. Wow, I sure got that out of my system. So, how does Free to Be, You and Me still hold up over 45 years later? Well, not that I'm surprised, but it holds up really, really well. Some aspects are a little bit dated, like the way everybody's dressed, and maybe one or two certain phrases here and there.
Far out.
Far out. But its subject matter is still a big topic of discussion. In turn, I think that gives it more of a timeless value, and makes it feel less like it's completely stuck in the 1970s. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there trying to get a grasp of who they are and struggling to find themselves. What do they want to do with their lives? How do they want other people to see them? What genders do they want to be associated with? Free to Be doesn't have definitive answers to all these questions, but it doesn't need to be so complicated. Sometimes something as simple as "you're special just the way you are" is all you need to hear. I've used the word simple a couple times throughout this video, but that's one of the key words here. This special has a simplistic message told in a simplistic manner, but also with a deeper level of insight, making it more akin to something like Winnie the Pooh or my fellow birthday boy, Mr. Rogers. Bottom line, it's simple, but deep. And that, combined with its creativity, great soundtrack, and entertainment value, makes Free to Be worth watching, reading, or listening to without question. There's a lot more to this special that I haven't even shown here, so when you have the time, go find it somewhere online and check it out. Or give Marlo Thomas some love by going to the Free to Be Foundation website, link down there, and buying the DVD or the book or the album. However you're able to experience this, do it. You won't regret it. I don't really have much else to end with, so thanks for watching. Birthday wishes are appreciated. Stay safe, wash your hands, and have this. Paldo! Thanks for watching, everybody, and a very special thank you to the patrons whose names are scrolling across the screen right now, as well as my superstar supporters for this month, Henry Newman, Jake Winans, and Rachel Rodriguez. Normally, this is the part of the video where I suggest you go check out my Patreon page or click the join button to become a sponsor for my channel, and you can still do that if you want to. But for this video, because I mentioned the St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital earlier, I think it'd be a little more appropriate to give them a plug. You know how Facebook has those birthday fundraisers that you can set up to encourage people to pledge to a charity of your choice? Well, think of this as something similar to that. I strongly suggest that you go to St. Jude's website and give them a donation. It's a wonderful cause, and it's quite a coincidence that this just happens to be related to the topic of this video. So if you're able to, go ahead and give them some love. It can be $1 or a penny or anything. Whatever you're able to give them, please give it to them because they really, really deserve it. I'll put a link to their website in the description along with my social media links, which are always down there. And if you want to stay updated on my future uploads, then be sure to subscribe or follow whatever people do on Vlare. And if you're watching this on YouTube, click that little bell icon. Thanks again for watching. I'm gonna go sell my soul to Animal Crossing New Horizons now. And with that said, this is Mark, bidding you all a smashing farewell. Bye, everyone.